All right, how's everybody doing tonight? Okay, this week in-class exercise, tutorial 4. We're doing case 1 tutorial 4 take-home. We'll go over in just a second. Quiz 4 tutorial 4, as always, it's your last quiz, last case. Next week's the final class. You're taking your test in class. When you come to class, it'll be open book, open notes, and open Excel. You can have the Excel program open as well if you need to look around and see, is wanting to know what a cell reference is or whatever. You can use your program to do that. It's going to be based off the 4 quizzes you've taken from tutorials 1 through 4. It's 5 questions per quiz I'm pulling out, so it's only 20 questions, the final is. And once you're finished with it, take your time because you get one shot. Once you're finished with it and you submit it, that's going to be your grade for that final. Okay, so take your time on it. But if you've aced it, which most of you have, the quizzes, you'll have no problem with the final because it's working off the same database for the quiz question, for the answers and questions and answers. So no surprises.
How many questions are on the final?
20. 5 questions per quiz because you guys have had 10, I believe, per quiz. Is that right? I'm pulling 5 per quiz, and so it'll be 20. 20 questions. All right? Any questions on that? You do have a week to finish case 1 as always for this week, and I did update the files. I'll look at in just a second. In case 1 for this week, the files were incorrect. I updated those. They're correct now on your source and solution one. Trying to think of what else. The podcast for tonight's session in class is already done. I'm just going to leave the one from last semester because it's fine. It's the same content we're covering tonight. So your pre-podcast you should have watched already, but the post-podcast at the bottom, it's the same content we're covering tonight, so no sense of me redoing it again. I am recording what we're doing tonight, so I will post it as always, but we might have some differences in dates and stuff like that, but that's about it. Content will be the same. All right, so this week this tutorial is went over the formatting of numbers of your worksheets into charts. And charts are used a lot of times in Excel to display data for a business meeting. You're showing clients their return on maybe an investment. You're showing the sales group, all 4 sectors of a sales group, who's doing the best in that group, who's doing the worst, who needs to work on whatever. And so that's, it's a numbers in a visual format, basically. There's a lot of different ways to create charts. As you went through your text already, you should, see that. We're going to create 3 or 4 different charts tonight from the base number budget we've been working at the last 3 or 4 weeks. So we're going to use those same workbook idea on budget, but we're going to create a multiple charts from that budget. Okay. So before we go into the in-class, I want to go over the case 1 first. I've already got it on my screen, but let me go. The case 1 basically, and I did correct the page number. It's 224 is where case 1 assignment is found in your book. The beginning file is this Kenya, and Kenya Ford is the source file. Look at if you need help. So let's look at the source first. Okay, so you've got your documentation tab and your data. Okay, you're going to take it from this format to this format. So every documentation tab looks fairly the same. Then it goes into monthly visits and park usage data. Okay. This part here, the hardest part for you to get, it's really not hard, but it's pivoting this chart and moving it to give it a 3D effect, and just follow the directions in your text. It tells you exactly what to do on it. But basically you're formatting it to pivot this chart on an axis on the screen to where it looks like this. So it gives it kind of a 3D effect, which looks kind of cool. Everything else is real basic. It's got a basic table down here, which is data, a pie chart. So if you follow the directions, this is the trickiest part students have told me, but it's not major difficult. You can tackle it in like 5-10 minutes on this one tab. Following the directions. You can't skip anything on a direction for this one. Just take your time and you'll do fine. Okay? The park usage data is an easy tab. This one we're using data bars to determine the which category has the highest park attendance and what month, whether it's the Glacier, the Visitor Center, others. And so we've already done multiple data bars. That's no biggie. So this is going to be the only one that's a kind of a challenge to you maybe. But again, it's as simple as when the chart's built, is moving that chart, and you're using basically a moving on its axis and by a certain degree to make it look like this, okay? And so not real difficult to do. It looks difficult, but it's not. And some of you have already finished this, so again, you have a week though to finish it, so no big hurry to do it. So let's go ahead and go to the in class. The in class we're building on the budget scenario we've been going on. If you want to go ahead and open up the start file and the solution file both for this one, that would be good. I'm going to close mine out. As soon as you open up your start file, go ahead and do a Control S and save it to your desktop as always. Remember, your desktop is found on the left side under Favorites. Make sure and double click on Desktop before you name it, first initial, last name. And we're still using the comments within the Excel worksheet on what you're going to be doing. But I'm going to go ahead and fly through this real quick to show you how easy this is to create charts. And then you're going to take the step-by-step here and do it on your own, and I'll walk around and help you if needed. Once you're finished with the in-class exercise, you're free to go. If you can hang back if you need help on anything. The first thing it has you do in here is save it to your desktop. Second thing is freeze pane. Freeze pane we actually used last week a little bit when I was showing that advanced Excel worksheet where the top portion of a pane was frozen and you could see data below it. And so freeze pane is used, basically the logic behind it is you want to freeze generally a row which generally has header information like utilities, rent, groceries, totals. That way if you have a whole bunch of lines, this only has 14, but say you had 200. Say you had 200 rows. It'll go beyond your screen, right? The screen only goes to what, 25. And so by freezing a pane, you're allowed to freeze that data above whatever row you're on, and it'll stay static to where you can see the header information as data is flowing down. So let me just show you how easy it is. I'm going to select row 3 on this worksheet, and then go to the View tab, and then I'm going to go to the Freeze Panes area. It's in the Windows area, Freeze Panes is. You just left-click once on the Freeze Pane, and notice you have Freeze Panes, Freeze Top Row, Freeze First Column. We're going to choose Freeze Panes, which it says keep rows and columns visible while the rest of the worksheet scrolls based on the current selection. So if I click on this, now when I scroll, I don't have a lot to scroll here, but it looks like it gets rid of January and February. If I scroll down, notice January and February hides, but this rows 1 and 2 stay static and frozen. So that's the concept behind freeze pane. Now freeze pane, again, it's more popular in rows, but you can do a freeze pane in columns as well. To do freeze pane in columns, you just click on the column you want, and then you go up. I'll do like this one here, D column maybe. Freeze pane. And now if I was to go left and right, you'll see how it's frozen that column, A, B, and C. Everything else to the right of it is not frozen. So I'm going to go back here, click on freeze pane, and you'll notice I have to unfreeze it. You can only freeze either a column or a row. You can't do both. Okay? So that's the first thing you do is freeze a pane. Does that make sense? Freezing a pane helps you freeze the window pane basically to where you can see the header information for your data. And that's important when you're viewing data to understand, because we've all been on spreadsheets maybe, or if you haven't, you will in the future hopefully. And if that header stuff's not frozen, you have to think, well, what column am I at? I'm on row 250, but I don't know what column this is. Yes?
Is that temporary and changes when you close the file?
No, it saves it with your content.
If you save it with-
So if I save it and send it to you, that content's saved, and that logic is saved inside of Excel. Yeah, so that does carry over. It's not machine only, it's by program, by app, and that's a good thing. And so, if you moved on a USB thumb drive around and gave it to people or emailed it, it would stay there. Number 2, inserting below charts. We're going to select A1 through E14. And again, I'm going to do this first real quick and then have you guys do it second, as always. So you can just watch if you want to, and then I'll let you do it on your own, and I'll walk around. But the thing with charts is this. You would not want to select everything, okay, like I'm just doing right now. You would only want to select numbers to create a chart with. If you create in there or select text, it's going to mess up the chart. And so you basically want the numbers and rows and columns that maybe have to deal with it for the most part. But we're going to go ahead and select this because it does have in here the title, which I want to keep. I also want to keep the header information, which is important to the data, and the column information here, column A, January through December. Once I select that information, basically you'll be able to go to the Insert tab and select the column type. It says here, the first we're going to select an inline column chart below row 16 in Charts tab. We're going to add a title bar chart above the chart. So basically it's going to look like this here when it's done. All right, taking that data, selecting it, and then putting information on it. All right, so the inline, I'm sorry, the inline is not that one, it's this one, the inline chart. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and go to the Insert. Remember, anything you want to add to your spreadsheet, you need to go to Insert. We're going to go to Column, and we're going to go to the Inline Chart. Go to my inline. Oh, I want to do the bar chart, I'm sorry. Bar chart, pie, bar, line. Oh, we're doing an inline chart with the first one, I'm sorry. Inline chart is going to be inside of this first tab, the inline chart. All right, so let's do that. So we're going to put a chart on this chart tab. And I'm going to go and just select a bar chart, and we'll do I want it right here, so I'm going to put my mouse on 16 here. Doesn't matter where, I'm just going to put it right here for now. And I'll select a bar chart, we'll do a 3D or 2D. Oh, I've lost my selection. Do it again. We'll do a bar chart 2D. Now, this is kind of tricky here. As soon as I select it, it pops it in there, and you've got to move it down manually, like this. All right. And once I select it, you'll notice at the top there's chart tools now available. Design, layout, format. The only one I want to play with on this one, I want to put a title in here, chart title. I'm going to put it above the title, or above the chart, and I want to call it bar chart. Okay, and then what's cool too is you can actually resize this, and it'll resize the data as well, if you can see there. But the problem is, you'll notice it gets jumbled together, the data does. So it needs to be big enough to where you can still see your legend here and the numbers, and it's ranging from 0 to 2,500 it looks like. And so it's breaking it down by December all the way through January. Okay? So that's called an inline chart. I'm putting it in that chart itself. The second one I'm going to do is insert a pie chart to the pie tab. I'm going to add data labels to best fit it. What that means is, if I go over here to this final example, see right here where it says 2100 or 22, 221, 341, the numbers are actually on the pies itself. That's a label that you can add to pie. And you'll notice if it doesn't fit in the pie, what it'll do is Excel will expand it out beyond the pie slice to where you can determine where it's at still. Okay? So let me go ahead and play with that one and show you what that one is. Again, I'm going to select the same data. I'm going to go to Insert, Pie Chart, and I'm just going to select, I'll just go ahead and select this Explode one to show you. Now, before I do anything, you'll notice up here at the top right there's a Move Chart tab. If I click on the Move Chart tab, I can tell it where to go. I want it to go into the pie object. Click OK. I need to move it around. It's easy to move it. When you're moving these charts, if you look on the overhead, you want to make sure and select it about where I'm selecting it, right in this area here. Because if you select it on a corner, you can mistakenly drag and move it like that. Okay? So you want to select it on like right around here, and you want to make sure the cursor looks like mine. It looks like a cross cursor. All right? And now we're going to actually add in here inline labels, data labels. And we can actually do best fit will probably work the best, or we could actually play around with these and see which looks better. Looks like best fit's probably going to be the best one. And that one, for the most part, you can see where the numbers are according to the chart. All right. Then the next one is inserting a bar chart, changing the legend position. Okay, so we'll do the legend position on this one. So select that, go to Insert, Bar Chart, Move, go to Bar on the object in. Here's where we can play with the legend now, the position of the legend right here. Notice I can put it on the right. I can put it on the left. Put it at the bottom. And so wherever you want to put that legend, I'm going to let you put it for the in-class. You just want to make it look nice. If you need to expand it some more, we have plenty of real estate here to play with. You can do that. Okay, so that's a bar chart. Then lastly is a line chart. And here we're going to change a chart style to something else besides the default. And the line chart is used a lot for stock markets. Anybody do stock market stuff or know somebody that does day trading or something? You see this type of data in stock market numbers. So let's go ahead and select, again, the range we want, A1 through E14. I'm going to go to Insert, Line, and I'll go ahead and select, let's see, we'll select something different here. We'll do a line with markers. Yeah, we'll do that one. And you don't have to select the default. There's a whole bunch of different ones you guys can play with. That was a little bit different than one example I gave. That's fine. And on this one, we're changing the chart style. So if we go up here to the layout and my format, go back to the design. Here's the chart styles. These are the built-in chart styles I can select. be as colorful as I want, dynamic as I want to. All right, and so that's a line chart. All right, and again, line charts are used a lot of times for financial. And you can actually go in here once you select your data, and you can actually manipulate the chart individually as well. I can come in here to the chart layout and change this like this. So you can play, I mean, a lot of different things look ugly. It does not fit. Most of the time the defaults are going to look pretty good. All right, and you want to stay around something that fits well. This one threw in an axis title. I could put in here values or something. Okay, and then number 7, freezing the panes to help view important data at all times. We've already talked about that, but freezing the pie, bar, line, and chart sheet as we've done earlier, as I showed you how to do earlier. All you need to remember on that one is to select the area you want to freeze, whatever's above that area. So for instance, on the pie one, I'd want to select above row 16 to be frozen. And what tab do I go to the freeze? You remember? Right, go to View, then I go to Freeze Panes, and now you'll notice that pie chart's always going to stay in there. Regardless what's down below, what data I add later on, it's going to stay there. And I want you to do that on everything, on the pie chart, bar chart, and the line chart. And do it on the line above. So this will be line 17 and above, or line above 17, so it'll be 16 and above. But you have to put your cursor and highlight that row that you're wanting to freeze. Once you do that, it then freezes that content above in the chart. So you do the freeze pane, and then once you're finished, and again, notice mine looks different than the source, or than the example here I gave you to look at. That's fine, and yours can look different too. I want you to play with it. You don't have to use the same one if you want to do the 3D. There's 3D charts on all of these. You can do 3D if you want to. Play around with the formatting a little bit more. I want you to get used to doing that, because selecting the numbers, creating the charts, the easy part. Figuring out what format you want could be a little bit more difficult, but once you figure that out and what looks good to you, you'll know what to do each time. Okay, so it's a matter of just playing with it. So I've showed you how to do it. Went through once on myself, start to finish. Now you go ahead and go through it on yours. Remember to read the data in the first chart, the first tab, the chart tab, tells you exactly what to do. And I'll kind of walk around and help as needed. All right, any general questions?
How did you insert the title again?
Okay. On any of these that you want to insert a title, you just select the chart, go to the Layout tab, and where it says Chart Title, by default it's none. You can do Centered, Overlay Title, or Above. I always select the Above chart because it puts it above it. If you do the Overlay, it puts it over the numbers, which doesn't look too good. Okay? All right, we'll kind of walk around and see how you're doing.